Hello, and welcome to the Liquidity event. This is episode 46, being recorded on June 15th, 2022, airing, we still say airing? Yeah, it's video. Airing on Friday, June 17th. Shane, it's been a minute. It's great to have you back.
Oh, I thought you were going to say we're your hosts, AJ.
Oh, I forgot that part.
I was going to do my intro. Oh,
shit, I'm sorry. I'll start over.
I'm back.
We're your hosts.
No, shut up. Stop. You're the one that's, you got somewhere to be.
Sorry, folks. We're a little rusty. You take a week off, you forget everything, you know. That's how it goes.
The last time I did one of these, we did it in person, which was the most awkward way to do this. That's like 1 out of 50 times we've done this in person.
Yeah, that was terrible. That was my least favorite podcast we've ever done.
Let's agree to never be in person together.
I never ever want to see you ever again in person. Only on Zoom.
All right. That's settled.
Where are you in the world? Speaking of never ever seeing you ever again, you're 3,000 miles away from where I am. Where are you?
Oh God, I totally forgot you're in Palm Springs. Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn, and you're in California now.
Mm-hmm.
Old switcheroo.
Yep. Makes sense. Yeah, we should never be within 2,000 miles of each other ever.
Your
is probably a good rule.
Yeah, I have a restraining order on you. It's 2,000 miles.
Perfect.
Your video looks insane, by the way, for the video. I mean, AJ's in Palm Springs. There's enough sunshine there to apparently pierce the walls of a home.
Yes. Also, I literally moved all of the stuff out of this house. So there's just bright white walls everywhere.
You know the scenes from The Matrix where they talk to the architect and it's just like all white? He gets like yoinked out of it. That's what you look like. You look like you're floating through I guess, heaven. Welcome to heaven, AJ.
Yeah, or like Dumbledore at King's Cross Station at the end of Harry Potter.
Spoilers, please.
Anyways, are you doing anything for fun these days in this hot Brooklyn heat?
I installed 2 air conditioners today.
How's hot boy summer going for you?
It's definitely hot. I'm definitely a boy, a little boy trying to take care of himself. No, it's going well. It's going good. Getting out on boats, doing runs with the dogs, hanging out with old friends. I moved into my neighborhood where like 15 of my friends live, so doing a lot of Seinfeldian run-ins with them. It's lovely. How about you? How's your summer going?
It's going great. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I've been doing. For fun, I've been on a book tour with my husband, who published his memoir last week. So I've been bopping around all over the country, seeing old friends and family, and cheering him on. It's been going really well. So it's nice to be like weirdly like out of everything was like not my problem. Like every night, like he had to get up on stage and like do a talk, and I just like sat there and like clapped and smiled and took pictures. Like it was like, I was very happy to be in that role for like a short amount of time. But went to a new place, Salt Lake City. I'd never been there before. Weird town. Beautiful city, but strange place. We were also there on Sunday, and it's a mostly Mormon population, so everything was closed. Like the entire city was shut down. It was a little creepy ghost town in the downtown Salt Lake City area.
Spoken like someone that didn't grow up in the deep South, for sure. That's the norm for me. Mississippi is also closed on Sundays.
Right.
Where else did you go? You went to LA, Seattle, Salt Lake City,
and then Palm Springs. Those were the stops, and he continued on to Milwaukee and Chicago, but I opted to sit by the pool in Palm Springs.
Gotcha. Okay, shall we get into?
Not a lot of IPOs. It continues to be a bit of a drought here in IPO land. 2021 was such a banner year for IPOs, and 2022 is proving to be a drought. Is kind of I feel like that's even like an understatement. But we do have all these sort of, I wouldn't call this micro cap, but small companies filing their S1s, hoping to go public. This one was interesting to me. The company is called Adamas One, Adamas. They are a synthetic diamond manufacturing company. I think they just started releasing products, but basically their value right now is that they own these machines that create lab-grown diamonds. You need a lot of chemicals, a lot of heavy machinery, and they also own the patents to actually create these shiny stones that can replace the diamonds that are typically mined in ways that are very bad for the people that do the mining and the environment from which the stones are extracted from the earth. So diamond industry, about an $80 billion global industry. Apparently the synthetic diamond market is right now it's about 19 billion, projected to be about 50 billion by 2030. So, you know, the idea of like a diamond being a precious stone that has to come from the earth is sort of fading away, because we've all seen how, not all of us, but we know how harmful it can be to get them out of the earth. And it's a big, nasty business getting diamonds into engagement rings.
TIA, Mom.
What?
TIA, right, Med?
TIA.
What's TIA?
This is Africa, huh?
This is Africa from Blood Diamond.
Okay, got it.
You never get my references, ever.
I didn't get that one.
Have you seen movie? Come on. All right,
I've seen Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. Oh, wait, is that
Uncut
why you named it?
Yeah, this episode is called, I pre-named, folks, just so you know, we usually name the episodes after we record, but I already knew that I was going to call this one Uncut Gems.
I thought that was just an uncircumcised fella. What do we think about diamonds, AJ? Let me guess what your diamond story is, because you are married. I'm guessing you have a real diamond, but it has a ethical history attached to it. Like, you know where it came from.
That is correct. Yes, yeah. That would be correct.
No surprises there.
And look, ethical, when you attach ethical to diamonds, it's there's no such thing, right? But the current propaganda... The current propaganda is that it's ethical to use a recycled diamond, aka a vintage diamond that's already been extracted. So yes, I do have a vintage ring from the 60s. So that was the ethical. I did not choose it. It was chosen by my husband, but we did talk about my preference for something older, purely for aesthetic reasons, not for good environmental, socially governing responsibly reasons.
Right. You have an ESG diamond, aka an adopted dog. You did not get a purebred dog. To bring it back to me and my ethical conundrum for having a purebred dog and justifying it with.
Sort of, yeah. And a synthetic diamond would probably be even more. Well, I don't know. That's a question for the experts. But like, what is more ethical, an upcycled or recycled or vintage diamond, or a lab grown diamond? I just generally have a problem with engagement rings in general, because I see this with so many of our clients, like the expectation of what it should look like, what it should cost, how it should happen. I see amongst my friends and our clients, like marriages, like starting off on the wrong foot from day one, just because everyone's obsessing over this like stone that goes on your finger that costs so much money. Like, these things are so expensive. So I think lab grown diamonds are cool. So this company is filing to go public. They're one of about 15 other competitors who kind of all appear to do the same thing, right? They all have their own version or chemical formula for creating these diamonds. I imagine the one that looks the prettiest and has the most successful marketing strategy will rise to the top. But I think we'll watch this space basically to see who comes out the clear winner.
That's a cool ticker symbol. JEWL.
Jewel. Yes. Jewel is the ticker symbol, which is tight.
Ticker symbols are the vanity plates that CFOs get to pick, right, for their company.
Yeah. I mean, BKFI is our obvious ticker symbol.
I thought it would be EQTY. Equity? No?
Nah. Too hard.
Leave it to me. I got you.
Negative.
When we IPO in 2023?
Yeah, next year. Yeah, targeting a Q3 2023.
Since no one else is IPOing this year, Brooklyn is going to fall on the sword.
Basically a nano cap. I mean, come on.
Who wants a piece of the pie? Who wants to be partners with Psycho? That's me.
That's you. Yeah, I'm already the partner of the Psycho.
As long as I get to P. Galloway.
Right. Speaking of no IPOs. Yeah, that was a bad segue. Crashed and burned on that transition, just like this stock. Bright Green, which is a cannabis producer, went public via direct listing in early 2022, earlier this year. And basically this stock has crashed and burned. They were trading on day one at $58 a share, and now currently, just a couple months later, trading roughly at $2.50 a share, off 83% from its first trade, its opening trade. So I don't have a ton of interesting insight here, but it's a direct listing, right? We've seen a couple of successful direct listings. Apparently, there have been 14 successful direct listings in U.S. markets. Spotify, Palantir, Squarespace, Coinbase being some of the name brands that we recognize. But they're not doing too well. So all of them except one are trading below their initial offering prices. So direct listing seems great. In theory, we don't need the expense and hassle of getting the investment banks on board. Let's just put the shares out there in the open market. But this data, it's pretty kind of a small sample size, but maybe this shows us that maybe these companies weren't quite ready for the public markets, and maybe they could have benefited from that help over that public debut from these big investment banks. Any insight here?
No, not really. I mean, just with these stocks particularly these stocks are suffering, but I think that stocks across the board are down 20-30%, and especially growth stocks, pun intended for the marijuana company that we're dealing with here. Also, growth stocks such as Spotify, Coinbase, et cetera, are historically high flyers, high price to earnings ratios, much higher than your typical value stocks. So what goes up must come down, especially towards a recession. So I don't know. I don't really have much insight there. Besides, I'd love to see a comparison of direct listed stocks versus, which are only, in the one or two or three handfuls of company names compared to all your traditional underwritten by the big banks stocks, to see a little side by side. Maybe we'll do that. Take a look at that for our next episode.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, so much data about stock prices right now it's just hard to look at it in a vacuum, because you need to look at the rest of what's going on in the market. And I think the story is everything is down right now. Of course, there are exceptions. So I don't know how valid this is, but I think there's been this current bright green crash and burn is definitely going to be a signal to other companies that were thinking about a direct listing to back off in this environment.
There seems to be a lot of money to be made in the marijuana industry. I had a prospect call today with a client that had stakes in 5 or 6 different companies that were vertically integrating along the East Coast with all the law changes. It was funny. He told me he'd been he is as old as you can be in the marijuana industry without being in the black market. But then he admitted that he was involved in the black market prior to getting involved in the industry. So,
I mean, the black market is still a thing in most states, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah, because weed is more expensive in the store than whatever I remember buying it for in, I don't know, that was 10 years ago though. So that's probably just inflation. But yeah, there seems to be a lot of vertical integrated businesses that are popping up where they both manufacture and distribute the marijuana around the East Coast, which is a gigantic market that is just now starting to flourish. Another pun intended. So very cool. That's all I have to say about that. Transition into hedge fund. Hey, speaking of hedges, how about this hedge fund article you have here?
There's a bustle in your hedgerow over here.
Oh.
I don't know where that was going.
A bull in the heather.
Yes, hedge funds. I don't even care what D1 Capital Partners.
Why'd you put it in here?
No, I mean, it's like we hear a lot about hedge funds. I think most people don't even know what a hedge fund is, because it feels so out of touch and out of the scope of their life, which they often are, because they're typically for investors, and hedge funds are typically so wealthy that they can afford to put in millions of dollars, which is a small portion of their net worth, for very, very risky investment strategies. And that's kind of what happened here. D1 Capital Partners basically had an extremely aggressive strategy here, and they basically borrowed $2 billion from JP Morgan and I think another big bank to continue to invest in these potentially high growth companies. A lot of those high growth companies, as we just covered, are not doing so well right now. So they are last year, where they looked like they were, up posting 70% gains, and now they are posting dramatic losses, so much so that their investors are, going back through the contracts and seeing, what they're actually on the hook for. Not a great story. I don't like to hear stories of people failing this wildly, but this was definitely a case of being a little bit too brash. Money was flowing too easily.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic story of leverage and how it can get you into hot water, especially if you get your timing wrong. If you were to buy a house, for example, in 2007 or 2008, you might have gone underwater immediately. I mean, Leverage is one of the reasons why usury and lending money has been cursed by many religions, because it's one of the things that get people into unreckonable positions. Even hedge fund managers that borrow big to put a lot of money into stocks that have performed incredibly well over the past 13 years of a bull run, and you don't know when it's going to come crashing down. You can just get caught holding the bag. I mean, somebody does. There's so many hedge funds, so many mutual funds. Eventually, one of them, just through process of randomness, is going to borrow a bunch of money right before a market crash, because the stock market is random. So yeah, caught with their pants down.
Yeah, I think what's particularly interesting about this one, though, is that they were specifically investing in companies that had not gone public yet. So it wasn't necessarily like there was less due diligence because these companies are private, so they didn't necessarily have to bring that due diligence to the investors in the hedge fund. So there was just a lot more like easy money flowing. When it's not a public company, no one can see the financials. So it was like, this company looks cool. Let's plow $1 billion into it and see what happens. So I think that was particularly why. Now I remember why this was interesting to me. It's because all of these bets were on private companies where a lot of our clients have stock options, and there's all these potential like hedge fund owners that they don't know about in these private companies.
Yeah.
Do your due diligence, folks. And
everyone wants to be the Facebook investor. Everyone who wants to have a $5 billion Roth IRA like Peter Thiel. But that's an extremely risky bet.
Do we have an update on that, by the way? Is he in trouble? Are they changing laws? I don't remember. I feel like someone was going to go after him.
I think he's the president now.
Oh,
I think Peter's the president of the United States. Okay. So nothing to worry about. You like labor unions, did you?
Oh, boy.
You like the laws in general, did you?
Nah.
Prepare to be eaten.
Liber, yeah. Anyway.
Where do you think you would fall on the blood revolution? On the winning side, or would you be outside of the gates of the billionaire's palace, fighting with the rest of us? You know where I think I would fall.
I hate to say it, but I think I'd be right at the head
in
of the
palace. All right, good to know.
But I'd be working on your behalf, sending secret messages. I'd be your mole inside. Yeah.
Sure, you'd be my mole inside. Best of luck, AJ.
Also, side note, in my retirement, by the way, I have recently discovered I forgot about how much I love this type of fiction where it's just like the James Pattersons of the world, where it's just like thrillers that don't really have like plots or characters, but it's just like exciting. Like every page is like something crazy happens. And speaking of blood revolutions and all that, I just wanted to highly recommend that as we're going through this period of extreme volatility, high inflation, everyone's really stressed out. My recommendation, this is an official financial recommendation, is to get into pulp fiction thrillers and just throw yourself into an imaginary world and read a page turner before you go to bed instead of looking at your phone.
Oh, all right. Is that your no-brainer of the week?
Yeah, that's my no-brainer. Yeah, it's really it's been so fun. I've learned so much about different worlds.
I'll save you there.
Jeffrey Archer is the author that I'm going to recommend. Anyway, you saved me.
Well, yeah, I got you. So that reminds me of, you know how like all the UFOs have been popping up, and even the U.S. Navy and the Air Force have recognized that they don't understand some of the phenomenon that we've been seeing over the past few years.
Yes.
Are you not up to speed?
I'm up to speed. I heard a whole thing last night about a UFO. Yeah, very, very familiar.
Well, somebody in the Chinese astronomy department thinks that they picked up the frequencies that indicate an invasion of Earth by aliens, and the guy was like yoinked out of China.
Finally.
And supposedly what's the book series about an invasion of Earth where it's the third problem or the third? I'll have to save it for the next episode, but that would fall under your book recommendations probably if you want to prepare thyself for, which would also cause, I think that's what would cause the blood revolution. That's the only thing that's gonna, if the White House explodes, everyone's off to themselves. All the billionaires go to New Zealand to retreat into their compounds.
Speaking of getting yoinked out of something for saying something weird, this is not in our agenda, but did you hear about that guy? I think it was at Google who like raised an alarm that he's like he was working in AI and was like, this is sentient. This is sentient. What's your take on that?
Well, supposedly he expressed problems with religious discrimination, and he is apparently very religious. And I don't know if folks that I don't want to say anything that's going to get me in trouble on the podcast, but I think that has a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. I think according to his religious beliefs, it is a sentient being, but according to scientific beliefs of the company, it is not quite sentient.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything about sentience, but apparently, according to the PR at Google, we're decades away from a sentient AI. But the conversation has been coming up a lot more frequently.
Yeah, I think that, especially if you're working on something and you understand, if you're an engineer and you understand how it was constructed, and then it does something surprising that was unexpected, I could understanding how the engineering mind works. Like, I totally would sympathize with like, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. This is far outside of the laws that I understand and the code that I built. So this is an unexpected error, and maybe this is.
Yeah, I think it passed a test wherein he didn't know if it was alive or not. Like, I think that is one of the tests where if it's speaking to you and you're not sure if it's a real human being or not, then that's one definition of sentience. My favorite representation of a true sentient computer is in that movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix, where he falls in love with her in LA.
Yeah.
Best movie about AI, much better than WALL-E and 2001: A Space Odyssey. IMH.
Yeah, Her is great. Her is great. I feel like it's not underrated. I feel like that movie is very much correctly rated. But yeah, perfectly if you haven't seen it, highly recommend. Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix and ScarJo, right?
I don't know the female. I just know that the female lead. Anyway, off on a tangent there. What do we have here? Something about the mall. Speaking of buying a sentient being, you got something here on the mall.
I love like when the New York Times does like kind of like lighthearted opinion pieces. This is like a long essay about how to save the mall, as in the shopping center, which were a huge part of American consumerism and growth in the 80s and 90s. And now, as I'm sure many of you have experienced in your hometowns, a lot of malls are either like completely abandoned or very depressing places. Stores are closed. They can't fill them. But basically this person is arguing for a return to the original concept of the mall, which was an indoor garden. So like turning these like shopping centers into like lovely pathways that you can walk along. There's this amazing tidbit, which I didn't know, that malls have actually have had these like walking programs. And it's so important for public health that the CDC actually has like a pamphlet on like how to exercise at the mall and how that needs to be a part of your like winter exercise routine when you live in a place where you can't go running up or walking outside. So I don't know. I love malls. I'm a valley girl. I grew up in the valley. Like, I grew up going to the malls that you see on television. So I love malls, and I would love for them to turn them into verdant oases.
So I didn't know what the valley was until I was 34. So do you want to elaborate on what the valley is for our listeners in a flyover state?
The valley is the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, which gained popularity in most high school teen movies in the 80s, and people talk funny. So if you haven't seen Valley Girl, also another great recommendation.
So you're telling me the U.S. government wants us to go shopping?
No, they want us to take all the stores out and turn the malls into like greenways.
Oh, okay. Get rid of the
there's nothing to get rid of.
Toys
They're
R
literally
Us
just
and the Dillards and like just
right there. Well, the point is that those have already left. Like these malls are literally just empty husks of concrete.
So
they're
put
going
glass
to
tops
decay.
on them.
Exactly. They already have the glass. Like the structure's already there. To like dismantle them and build condos would be wasteful and terrible. So this guy is arguing for like, let's keep them in their existing structures, but make them like destinations.
And if we don't do that, then people in cold destinations won't have to worry about it being too cold because the earth is going to warm up so much that there will be no winter in Canada. So
exactly, because there won't be any plants. Yeah, so it's fine. So the problem is already solved. Yeah,
got it.
We can move on.
Speaking of being super wasteful, Apple products are set to use a common charging point finally after an EU deal. How many chargers do you get to throw away in 2024 when we finally all move to USB-C? Probably 16 for me. Probably, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think about this very often because I have a device that is that downloads data from a device that is attached to my heart. Right, it's not keeping me alive. It's a pacemaker, and every night data goes into this thing. And this thing is a weird. I don't even know what the cord is called, but it's USB old style, not 3 or C or whatever you call it. And it's a problem. Like those chargers don't exist anymore. Like
it's like
if
shaped
I
like
forget,
a pyramid.
Yeah. So if I forget
that's what I use for my microphone, and that's why I always
it's the same cord. The microphone and the heart.
I borrowed your heart monitor cord to record our podcast in Portland because I couldn't find my charger.
I'm not going to unplug it, but I have a label on it that says heart stuff. So it's like, this is your heart cord. Like, don't leave.
It's called micro USB is what it's called.
Micro USB. Thank you. Right. But it's totally insane that a normal person should have to know the names of all the chargers and like keep track of them when we have all these devices. Although I have to say the charging pads are pretty neat. And you just throw your headphones, your phone, whatever, and they kind of work universally. But those are also USB-C. So anyway, I'm very excited about this. Basically, the EU, which is sort of famous for like going after tech a lot with more chutzpah than the US, let's call it. They're saying by 2024, all the phone and tablet makers have to agree to one universal standard, which is
they're going to make up a new one. They're going to make up a totally new one.
It's a new one. Yeah, it's a new one.
USB Type D.
Yeah, owned by the representatives for every country in the EU.
And it'll be the most breakable shape you can design so that they can sell trillions of...
A long needle that'll snap, made out of glass.
It'll be shaped like a McDonald's ice cream machine. Does that make sense?
I don't know. Yes, I got your joke. Yeah.
All right.
McDonald's ice, they're always broken. That's the joke, folks.
All right.
That's the joke. I don't know. This is... I mean, I don't know what is the size of the market for... chargers that are not manufactured by the people like Apple. Like what is like the off-brand charger market? It's huge, right? It's like Amazon sells them. Anchor is one of those brands. Like the guy on the street in Times Square selling you a charger for $15 because you forgot yours. Like it's so much waste too. Like you want to talk about being like an environmentally responsible person. Like, I don't know, I probably go through 10 chargers a year because I leave them in hotel rooms and places. Like I feel so wasteful.
I mean, there'll just be a change to the zeitgeist if we all use the same thing to have electricity flow from the wall into your device. Like everyone will have a spare one laying around to give you, and we'll stop having to just go buy one when we lose one and feel like we're bothering people to charge our phones and stuff. It's totally a man-made issue to sell products and destroy the earth yet again. It's one of the negative externalities of capitalism that the European Union has decided that we're going to clamp down on. So shout out to Belgium or wherever the fuck the EU lawmakers are.
The Hague? No, that's the...
No, that's where you're going to end up.
Yeah. That's where I'm going to for war crimes.
No, that's where the blood revolution true capital castle is. Yeah. That's where I'll be hung.
Actually, it's in Palm Springs.
Do we have time for anything else?
Yeah, we got time for one more. This is a interesting and sad story. We've heard a lot in the news about the Britney Spears custodianship trial and how she was preyed upon by her father and was forced to work and had no control over her money. There's another similar story. Wendy Williams, the talk show host, is in a battle with Wells Fargo at the moment because Wells Fargo apparently froze all of her accounts after Williams tried to switch banks due to a former financial advisor improperly handling her accounts. Williams has argued that she's capable of handling her own finances, and in a signed affidavit submitted to the New York Supreme Court, Wells Fargo has denied her access to her money, a move that had the potential of her defaulting on payments. So I don't know what the story is here. I imagine there's two sides to this story, but basically, a person wants to leave. I mean, I read this as a person wants to leave Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo decides, an advisor decides that she is unfit to manage her own money, and then they freeze their accounts. Whether they are legally able to do that or not, I guess we will learn from this court decision. But I think we're going to see a lot more of these cases. especially as the baby boomer generation gets older. And we're going to see a lot of fights of, if someone's making a financial decision, are they capable of making that decision? Have they been scammed, or are they in their right mind? So I don't know. I think the title of this article is like, we got to pay attention to Wendy Williams. Like, we all came together and like fought for Britney. And now we got to bring that same heat and make sure that Wendy is taken care of, because this does seem a bit like she's been taken advantage of.
I just don't feel like the negative externalities around keeping Wendy Williams' money is like, how much money does she have? Like, Wells Fargo don't give a fuck. It's like Wells Fargo is like the honey badger, like don't give a fuck about any, like they've been in the mud for years now. 10, how are they still a company? They've ripped off so, like, literally tens or maybe even hundreds of millions of people. Like, I can go on and on, but we're out of time.
We are. You want to read us out? Wait, fine. I just need a quick no-brainer from you.
Quick no-brainer. Install 16 air conditioners in your house, one for every window this summer. We're all going down in flames. We're all going down in flames anyway, so pump it up, baby. Go from 100 to 60 degrees in T-minus 12 minutes in my house.
You'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. This has been the Liquidity Event. You want to get in touch with us? Email us at liquidityevent@brooklynfi.com. Show notes at brooklynfi.com/episode 46. Stans can leave us a review if they want to be weird about it. Thanks for all the reviews, folks, by the way.
We're going to start reading reviews on the air, by the way. So stay tuned for that.
Spicy.
Yeah.
You'll love to see it. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.